Welcome aboard the Beseto Express. We'll cover 3 countries: Beijing in China, Seoul in Korea, and Tokyo in Japan. Together we'll explore the culture of Beseto. All aboard the Beseto Express!
The history of measuring oneself with another in strength is as long as the history of man. Measuring one's power against another has unique names and ways of playing according to different countries. This is the same for the 3 Beseto countries. The Japanese contest of physical strength, Sumo. China has diverse games of measuring one's strength, one known as Buhu. In Korea, a contest of physical power called Shirum is played on holidays. Let's go see the power of the 3 Beseto countries.
All over the world, women are compared to each other for their beauty and men for their physical strength. So over time, every country has developed their own unique ways of increasing the strength and durability. The 3 countries of Beseto, being no exception, has also developed their own techniques. Oddly enough, they have many things in common. The most important one is that they don't use foreign materials, but rather bare hand-to-hand combats. So join me, Doris Han, your host, as we go meet these Asian Hercules.
Sumo is the representative match of measuring one's strength in Japan. Sumo is famed for its history and tradition. It is even mentioned in the greatest history book of Japan. Sumo, which originated from Korea and Mongolia, was even used as a way of selecting government officials. Around the 17th and 18th century, sumo became the sport of the nation. Nowadays, professional strongmen have appeared, and 6 competitions are played every year. The rankings of the players are marked by the competitions, and the money and status is divided accordingly. In Mongolia, in the 13th century, during the rule of Genghis Khan, a game that measured one's power, called Buhu, was popular. Buhu, which was a must at national events as well as small tribal ceremonies, is the original form measuring physical power of Korea, China, and Japan. A man who won more than 3 times in Buhu competitions in Mongolia was called a giant and respected by all. Shirum, the representative game and sport of men in Korea. Korea's Shirum comes from a martial art used during ancient times to measure power among different tribes. There are no restrictions in place, time, or players. Because of that, Shirum has become widely loved, and it developed into a traditional sport. Shirum, which became popularized in the 16th and 17th century, is a form of entertainment enjoyed by the most common people, and a method of training the body from adults to children.
Asian wrestling not only requires physical strength, but skill as well. At first, you might think it's a game of survival of the fittest, but that isn't so. One must acquire and master many skills and maneuvers and have the willingness to win in order to succeed. Before we find out how these athletes actually increase their strength, why don't we go see in what type of sports arenas these matches are carried out in.
These blue and red straps are called satba. Korean Shirum is often called the satba fight. Shirum puts the most emphasis on manners. The players calm their minds before the game, and show their respect to their opponent and spectators. Shirum is played in sand and was traditionally played outside. You can't win only with strength in Korean Shirum. Technique is as important. There are three major moves: the hand technique, the leg technique, and the waist technique. A combination is also used. This is the waist technique. And the leg technique is used to trip the opponent. The hand technique is a way of taking advantage of the opponent's mistakes.
저희 씨름의 경기 규칙은 체급은 지금 2체급으로 나뉘어져 있습니다. 백두급과 한라급으로 나눠져 있고, 백두급은 체중이 100kg 이상입니다. 그리고 한라급은 100kg 이하입니다. 그리고 경기 시간은 1회에 한 경기에 시간은 2분이고, 그리고 2분 후에 휴식 시간은 1분입니다. 그리고 주로 경기 방식은 예선전, 개인전일 경우에는 단판제, 그 다음에 8강전일 경우에는 3판 양승제, 그리고 이제 결정전, 최종 우승자를 가릴 경우에는 5판 다승제를 적용하고 있습니다.
Chinese traditional wrestling, Shui Jiao, has two objectives, one for self-protection and another for training. There are many forms of traditional wrestling today, but the most popular one is the Dalian. Characters of martial arts have been added to Chinese traditional wrestling as it became modernized. The most important technique in Chinese traditional wrestling is the wrist technique. The wrist technique requires quickness to grab the opponent. And the movement of the feet that go with the wrist technique is as important. Only when these two movements are well harmonized, the player can perform a complete range of techniques. A harmony to oppress the opponent and achieve victory.
中国式摔跤呢，它与其他摔跤最大的不同，就是它在于只能站立摔。这个中国式摔跤，就是说把对方摔倒完以后，就是必须得重新站起来，重新再开始。那么在比赛过程中，两个人如果说比分相差10分了，这个比赛就停止了。就是说超过对方10分，必须实力比较悬殊，这个停止了，就判对方获胜了。再一个，如果说对方被罚消极，有3次警告，那么对方也就输了。再一个，一场比赛原来是那个3分钟一局，2局3局，现在呢5分钟一局，5分钟一局。在比赛过程中呢，双方有点要求要积极进攻，积极进攻。那么他的得分有3个标准，3分、2分、1分。
Japanese sumo emphasizes ceremony. Since 1200 years ago, flower carpets were made for sumo wrestlers to come and go. The platform, called the toyoli, where the match takes place, is higher than the spectators, making it look grand. The reason the players raise their hands is a sign to fight a fair game without any weapons. Pushing the opponent out of the circle was the major technique of the past. However, various techniques have developed. Some representative techniques are holding the opponent down or tripping him, or to pull the opponent to gain control over him. The objective of most sumo techniques is to push the opponent outside the circle. There are actions that are banned inside the stadium. It is considered cheating to use your fist or pull your opponent's hair, or hold the opponent's neck, chest, or belly.
昔の相撲と今の相撲となるとですね、どっちかと近代相撲ですね、今は。昔とまたちょっと違う近代相撲。どう言ったらいいのかな、近代相撲っていうのは、勝負が早いっていうのかな。引き技があったり、その投げ技があったりっていうの、その速さ。だからその昔のお相撲さんの状態じゃなくて、今のお相撲さんのその相撲の速さ、ぶつかった瞬間にすぐその技を出す、そういうものがやっぱり。で土俵の直径が4メーター55センチ。
When you attend one of these Asian wrestling matches, you can actually see the players gathering up all their physical and spiritual strength as well in order to win. But not only that, the loud cheers coming from the crowds also helps to keep the athletes' adrenaline pumping. Each moment is jam-packed with action and excitement. So if you're ready, let me invite you to the Asian wrestling matches of Beseto.
Chinese traditional wrestling performs elaborate techniques. To see a match between two players is like seeing men performing martial arts. Using techniques to gain control over the opponent is the key to victory. If we take a look at a few of them, we'll see the technique of tripping the opponent using the shoulders. Also, using femoral regions to attack or to kick with the legs are also important techniques. Twisting the wrist is also used to gain control over the opponent. The modern traditional wrestling of China seems somewhat similar to wrestling of the West. Japanese sumo is played inside a small circle. In a sumo match, you lose if you are pushed out of the circle or fall down so that a part of your body other than your feet touches the ground. That is why sumo wrestlers take lots of care to increase their weight. Victory is decided with one match in sumo. There is no second chance. It is important to observe each movement of your opponent carefully. When you observe the appearance of the players, you can see that they are wearing a sagari, which has different colors according to rank, and their unique hairstyle called chonmage. This traditional hairstyle of sumo wrestlers symbolizes the long history of sumo, and it also acts as a cushion for the head when one is knocked down. The title Yokojuna is awarded to the best player that wins the competition. To the Japanese people, the Yokojuna is a living god. Today, Korean traditional wrestling, Shirum, has come closer to the people by becoming a professional sport. While Shirum was a way of picking the strongest man in the village in the past, modern Shirum has become a sport that provides entertainment and excitement to the people. Grand matches played by huge players mesmerize the fans. Shirum, which comes from the word of competing each other with strength, has gone abroad to other countries and is providing entertainment to more and more fans. Shirum is played in a large circle. The player who touches the ground with his body or hands first loses, and the winner is awarded the title Chunha Changsa. Gold was awarded to the winners of the past, but today money is the prize.
The Hercules of Beseto are mostly noted for their strength, but the respect that they have for each other should not be surpassed. In order for these athletes to win, they go through hours of strenuous training, but still the golden rule is to never hurt your opponent. So even in the rough sport of Asian wrestling, the idea of humanitarianism is carried out. Thank you for watching today's show. See you next time.
Sumo, which was passed on to Japan from Mongolia and Korea. Sumo has become the national sport of Japan and has also been developed into an international sport, stirring up more popularity around the world. A sport in which the players feel each other's heat, Shirum. Korean Shirum, in which you can feel the warmth of our tradition, can be said to be one of the most familiar and humane game cultures of Korea. Such various contests of physical strength exist in the 3 Beseto countries. But they all started off from the Mongolian traditional wrestling.